Hey, I'm Friendly Baron, and in speedrunning, many games have tricks or strategies that are either too dangerous or too difficult to pull off consistently. GTA V Speedrun is no different. I'll share some of the game's riskiest time save ideas and explain why they aren't used often. To start off, in the mission Father-Son, the speedrun normally comes speedily down this hill to meet the boat. By going as fast as possible, the player gets close enough to the boat that Franklin begins getting out of the passenger seat so he can get onto the boat right away. The risky strat starts back at the beginning of the mission, where we'll take a left turn instead of a right out of the gate at Michael's house. This route ends up being more direct to the road where we meet the boat. The tricky bit is arriving at the highway. You have to jump down onto the road, then hope the traffic is clear enough to pull a U-turn. The boat also has been triggered at this point, and comes flying up to the player as it rubber bands closer. The speedrun would have to get hit by the boat and maintain speed with it as Franklin gets out of the passenger seat, and stay close enough to the boat to get Franklin onto the back as quickly as possible. So the way this can save time is by how quickly you can get Franklin onto the back of the truck, not just how quickly the boat can be triggered to appear. The truck can be spawned at about 6 seconds sooner than the normal route whenever you hit the point about below this bridge, but it tends to take 2 extra seconds from the truck trigger point to get to Franklin's animations of getting onto the boat to appear. So this can save about 4 seconds total starting from when you leave the house originally. The success rate I had in practice so far was about 25%. The truck is going very quick as it tries to catch up to the player and doesn't slow down until much farther in front, so managing that first hit is very difficult. Then you have to not get smashed into the side of anything while trying to keep up. Even the traffic when making the U-turn can cause a problem. I had trucks and cars moving into my way plenty of times, and going onto the other side of the road was too slow to be worth it. Even the jump onto the road is difficult to maintain speed through, while also hoping you don't land on a vehicle below. Potential time loss from all of that easily sits at 30 or more seconds if you are slow to get Franklin up onto the truck. It'll take 20 extra seconds or so to get Franklin onto the truck, but then possibly take more time later in the mission if the cycles of animations and shooting enemies off is slow, and Franklin will get off the truck so late that the voice lines will finish playing before you reach the mod shop. Personally, I find this strat that was found by Relo not worth doing as of right now. It's a tough mission as is, and such a big time loss early in the run is basically putting a 1 in 4 chance to reset already. In my last risky strat video, there was a move to jump off the motorcycle beginning friend request originally found by Maddie that could save 2.5 seconds or so. Dark found a probably even crazier way to do this by jumping off the parking lot from even farther away. It saves about the same 2 seconds, and I still don't think you'll see it that often in most runs. It's got like a 10% chance of working or so, and loses you 50 seconds if you die. Though I think motorcycle skills will be more important in the speedrun of this game in the future, which may make me rethink this one. In Carbine rifles, the player has to steal a truck with some weapons on board, then escape the cops. The speedrun aiming to do that as fast as possible. Normally the speedrun goes far enough forward in their vehicle to trigger the truck, then runs backwards on foot to be in good position to have a shootout, get in the truck, and drive away into the tunnels and overpasses to escape the cops. The risky idea is to drive forward all the way to where the truck spawns, shoot out the enemies from your car, then get into the truck and jump off the highway where they won't see you right away. Done well, this can save 12 seconds with a nice acquisition of the vehicle, but the success rate is probably closer to 50%. Do and Burhack both have posted videos of them being successful in this strat. Do suggest keeping the camera looking here to prevent the 2 spawns of the helicopter that happen. In my testing that does work, but there's plenty of other cop spawns that could appear nearby, either in cars or in helicopters that lose you time. If they see you, the potential time loss isn't too bad at only 20 seconds if you lose the cops quickly still, though there is a risk you can't find cover from the helicopter for longer. So far, I don't consider this worth doing. There's already enough random luck in this mission dealing with the text message that spawns it. Putting the mission success based on the randomness of where the cops spawn just doesn't feel worthwhile right now. Seven months ago, Do posted an at the time overlooked skip that cut off part of the drive during Mr. Phillips. It was brought up again when Sunny posted a link last month showing that the online heist speedrunners are making use of this. They jump off the ledge and through the water to come back up without going all the way down to the hairpin. The communities of single player and GT Online speedruns aren't very mixed right now, so we didn't see it right away. Trying this in practice, it's doable for sure with Trevor's Bodie truck. This lets you be in front of the van you are supposed to be chasing, and can arrive at the biker camp before it about 5 seconds earlier, which you would think would be our time save. In this practice, I go through the shootout as normal, but at the end, the bikers running away scared don't trigger as expected. Usually, you need to kill a minimum amount of bikers before the game lets you progress, and from what I can tell, arriving so early means that the early shots when arriving at the camp don't count. so either we'd have to wait for the van before killing or kill extra guys at the end. Either way, that's going to take 5 or more seconds off the time saved, basically negating anything gained. So while the drive does end up being faster, being so far ahead of the van messes up the shootout for more than it's worth doing. And we still have to talk about the jump over the water more. I can have a success rate of like 75% getting the truck up the rocks on the other side, but when factoring getting Wade to stay in the truck with me, it's close to the 33%, about a 1 in 3 chance of working. I'll preempt people suggesting to go to the left instead of going up the rocks. Going to the side farther doesn't work right away. It puts you too far away from the van and fails the mission. Waiting for the van to get close enough wastes time but lets the player get around the corner, only to discover there's no easy way back up the road, and this side isn't worth looking at. The potential time loss is only 10 seconds if you lose Wade going up the side, but if you get stuck below, it's going to be more like 40 seconds as you have to go around or fail the mission. So I'd rate this not worth so far. I will keep looking for a more consistent way to get up without Wade falling out of the back, or maybe try Dude's method slightly left of where I was attempting, but even if the drive skip works, that still wouldn't be worth doing thanks to the shootout being so weird when we skip ahead of the van. Originally in Minisub, we'd come up to the side of the boat, shoot the ropes off the sub, and then jump into the water. Do again had an idea to combine the diving into the water and shooting the ropes into the same action by just sending the truck off the edge of the dock. Pretty smart move that saves 6 seconds, has like a 90% success rate, and time loss is only 15 or so seconds as you can stand on the edge of the dock if you miss instead of climbing all the way back up the ladder. So it's totally worth doing. Except that we've changed the mission order as I covered in my last video, so now we are shooting the sub down from a jet ski instead. But if routing ever returns to being in a truck, this little strat will come back. I Fought the Law is the mission where the player has to fake race some other supercar owners to steal their vehicles. The speedrun blows this mission open by using brake boost to accelerate the car to crazy speeds. A somewhat risky new strategy was found by my friend Serenial where you can get these brake boosts off the medians in the center of the road, or by boosting off the curbs on the side of the road. Normally brake boosts are gotten over more obvious crest and elevation changes. Here's how fast the car goes without boosting, and here's with the middle boost. Side by side you can see the huge speed difference this can give you. However, this mission already has a pretty boostable route being shown now that gets the car up to huge speed anyways. Adding the median boost into the mission would save maybe 5 seconds at most. But with the specific F620 in the mission, I only had like a 10% success rate of hitting these boosts, as the car's suspension seems too stiff to get them more consistently than what can be gotten by sticking to more conventional brake boosts. The potential time loss is like 5 seconds if you kill the car's speed by missing a boost, or goes up to 15 seconds if you smack into the poles, bridges, or other little things that stick out of the center of the road. I consider this not worth it, for this mission at least. Most likely we'll find another mission to make use of these side brake boosts as I'd like to call them, but it'll depend on the vehicles, or maybe a reroute to make use of a more boostable road might be worth looking into at some point. In complications, the speedrunner can quick punch Simeon by holding forward, sprint, and spamming the punch button. A similar fight happens in the Mr. Richards mission later in the game. Normally we just kick Rocco to win this fight. The option to do the quick punches exists too, and saves 1.5 seconds. However, this game is a bit silly when doing these punches. You have a chance to kill Rocco instead. The last tick of damage is so high that it goes past the protection the game puts on the NPC and just takes him out instead. It's rather frustrating, as even in both cases of doing the punches he fell over at the end, and once kicking, one time it killed him and the other it continued the mission. It's about a 50-50 chance of success, and the potential time loss is 20 seconds when you have to redo the fight as it fails. Overall, not worth it for the small time save, a pretty high chance of failure. Now, Paleto Score here, this mission is the reason I had to make a second part to this series. If you missed the first video, there's a link to it in the description, and do consider subbing to my channel for similar stuff if you've liked both videos. Normally after casing the bank in this mission, the speedrun takes Trevor on the motorcycle back to the office via the rails, balancing on them to keep the speed up instead of being in the dirt. After my last Risky Strat video, some dudes named Dark and Masa Boy, who often make stunting videos like this, were made aware of the speedrun, and as you've heard in a few recent videos, they've had a good number of ideas already. A common trick in GTA V stunting is the fly with motorcycles. Basically you can slowly rotate the stick on the controller to keep the bike's rear tire aimed where you want to go and glide around. This requires you to get going very fast at first, and riding down Chiliad is just enough speed to get it started, and then fly over the entire lake back to Trevor's office. This is pretty radical to consider doing. It ends up saving about 12 seconds over a good run, which is pretty significant, but the success rate is like 25%, pretty low, with easily 60 seconds or more time loss if you die or fail the full jump and fall into the water. But that 25%, that's for Dark, who found the strat, and Masa Boy, who gave me some extra videos of the gliding being executed quite well. They've been doing this flying strat for years. The top runners of GTA V, myself included, have no experience with this technique. I have, well, quite a fair bit amount of time spent in this game, but the gliding strat is something I never bothered learning. It just wasn't in the sphere of stuff I ever got interested in. I absolutely had a 0% success rate of getting this trick in the 90 minutes of giving it a try. It is so much harder than I realized. In general, the GTA V speedrun doesn't have any majorly hard tricks, but the difficulty comes from putting everything together in one long 6-hour or more sitting. But this trick is incredibly difficult. When I first started speedruns, I was in awe of people able to put everything together and pull it all off. And I feel that same way towards these stunters doing these gliding and precise tricks. It is much harder than I ever realized, and would take me a few months to master and consider doing in runs in the future. I'm sure if this game is still being speedrun in a year or two, we might learn how to do the gliding strat more consistently, but until then, this is absolutely not worth attempting. The stunt dudes continue trying to tear apart the speedrun in the wrap-up. The speedrun starts the mission on foot and just runs to where Davey is to begin the shootout. The stunters had the idea to use the glitch I showed off in my failed strats video where you can ride straight up a vertical wall with a bicycle or motorcycle. This would let the speedrun skip the entire stair section, saving about 18 seconds. Similar to using Franklin's character power, simply holding down the change character button but not actually switching can amplify the boost from gliding up the wall. The success rate is 25% or so when I was trying it, but it only takes 6 seconds at most to try again, so in theory you could try 3 times before losing out to running on foot. However, that's all good on paper but kind of a lie in practice. The chances of getting a motorcycle spawned in at the start of this mission are about 5%. And, even if you do get one, when playing on the version of this game that the speedrun uses, the game soft locks, basically doesn't let you do anything if you start the mission in a vehicle. The time saved by using this version of the game where we get better FPS, better traffic spawns, and no waves in the ocean is just not worth what could be possibly saved on this mission. It takes 6 seconds to grab a nicely spawned bike too, which detracts from that 18 seconds saved value. Going up the stairs on a motorcycle ends up taking 2 seconds longer than just running amazingly. Trying to get a car on this mission, well, you don't quite fit. Driving the car around the back ends up taking 1 to 2 seconds longer as well, and there's no guarantee you'd get such a good sports car or any car at all, sometimes there's nothing out front. So basically the strat might be worth it, but due to the other circumstances surrounding the soft lock and the difficulty of getting a bike in the first place, it's not only not worth it, but not even possible. As a bonus though, here's an even crazier alternative route Dark found that would save about as much time as the other strat, but sure looks way fancier. Lamar Down was also included in the previous Risky Strats video, and I had shown how by hitting this jump from the fork in the road, you could save 5 or so seconds by flying downhill instead of driving. The stunters tried ripping this one apart too, and found you could save 10 seconds by getting an even stronger brake boost by holding Franklin's power longer, and the car goes about twice as far, making for some big time save. I feel only like 25% consistent on this version of the jump. It's pretty hard to get the mega brake boost here, as I will call it, but since the time loss is only really 10 seconds at most if you have a bad jump, it's kinda worth doing at this point, as even a shorter jump can still be faster as shown before. So it's probably worth doing, though we'll see how in practice whether I get that 10-second time loss from a bad landing, or 60-second time loss due to blowing up the car. Just a bit further in the same mission, the speedrun normally arrives to the shootout and begins it right away by running in as Franklin, instead of doing the long setup the game instructs you to follow. Do improved on this by jumping right into where Lamar is located, which can save up to 10 seconds when you have a good landing. But a good landing is rare, and this works maybe 20% of the time, 1 in 5 tries, and the time loss is anywhere from 10 seconds on a bad landing up to 60 seconds if you die and then have to follow the shootout with Rockstar's instructions. I don't see this one being worth it as of right now, as the jump is pretty tough, and the potential time loss is huge if you aren't able to initially trigger Lamar properly. But it's high on the list of strats that might improve drastically with practice. Slowing down before the jump to hit the second bump better might have me retry this in the future. In Meltdown, we normally drive around Michael's house and park on the left side of the driveway so that Michael teleports out of the car since Jimmy is blocking the passenger side. I'm probably not the first person to try finding an alternate entry here, but I recently had the idea that putting the Vodka propped up on the side of the wall here gives you just enough of a boost to get over the hedges. Heading inside from the back like this can save only like 1 second if done well, but I do get that save about half the time. The time loss can be like 2 to 3 seconds if you get stuck on Jimmy or trying to jump over the wall. I think this is possibly worth doing. I'm going to keep practicing it, and if it can be more consistent, notably slowing down into the wall faster and getting the jump first try, then this will be worth doing often. I'll keep this one brief. Gauntlets has a way you can drive around to the right or take a small jump directly into the road where the mod shop is on. The The Stunter Dark had a look at this and decided that wasn't enough, and found with another Mega Brake boost you can make it straight to the mod shop from the initial jump. This saves like 6 or more seconds, works like 10% of the time, has like 20 or so seconds of time loss when you miss it, and is absolutely not worth doing right now. I tried it once and I've noped out. Maybe another day, but not this year for sure. One final thing brings us back to the beginning of the game. The GTA V Speedrun leaderboards also have listings for the individual levels in the game, not just full runs. If we take a look at Rouleau's world record for Pulling Favours, instead of driving Tonya to the impound lot as normal to pick up the tow truck, he has a comically modified, fully upgraded tow truck inside of Franklin's garage. The larger truck is faster by default, but can't be stored nearby or upgraded. Rouleau is then able to immediately drive to the car and take it back to the lot. This idea can be applied to the full speedrun too. As the player returns from the Repossession mission, they can be on the lookout for a tow truck, then if spotted, go and grab it before starting Pulling Favours. Then when beginning the mission in the run, they get to skip the initial drive over to the lot. However, the other normal run is catching up. The old tow truck is much slower not upgraded, especially when towing. Once back at the lot, the runner who started the mission with the truck has no bullet supercar to return to, and has to drive all the way back to Franklin's house to begin the next mission. Amazingly, these two runs end up only being a third of a second apart over the course of the mission because of the drawbacks of getting the slower truck. However, if the truck had been closer to the end of the Repossession, or the speedrun had gotten a lucky larger tow truck spawn, they could save up to 15 seconds or more. This works 100% of the time when you get the lucky truck, but only happens like 1 in 50 runs. So it's not as much a risky strat but more of a lucky strat that requires some on-the-ball thinking, so it's worth including in this video. I don't have enough of these lucky strats to make a whole video of right now, but maybe in the future. So that's all the strats. Note that GTA V's class percent category I'm mainly talking about is over 6 hours right now. Risking huge amounts of time for small gain just isn't worth into this speedrun like it might be in a shorter game, even one that's an hour long. So these are all strats we know of but most likely aren't being done, yet. In the future they might become necessary to get world records, but for now we can safely not worry about them. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, there's a button to signify that actually, unless you are like me and use your like videos playlist as a music playlist. Don't worry, I understand. Subscribing helps my channel a ton, and I will keep trying to find risky strats and document the ones these other awesome people find too.